and we're up to chapter 26. Don't mess with bulls. Hello friends, well it's a rainy day here at Riverwood cabin. Welcome back. I'm reading to you from Where Lions Roar at Night. Book written by me, Rosie Boom, the first book of the Barn Chronicles. And we're up to chapter 26. Don't mess with bulls. Spring finally came to the valley, and the emerald green grass seemed to glow with life. The oaks and liquid ambers had all started putting out their small green buds, and a warm spring breeze rippled through the long pasture in the front paddock. Millie sat on the porch swing and closed her eyes. The sun warmed her face deliciously. A tiny chaffinch flew down and perched on the nearby fence post and began to sing his heart out. Millie watched him throw his head back and puff out his chest as he sang for her. He looked so happy. Good riddance to winter, she thought. Her tummy began to rumble hungrily. She got up and went inside. "I'm hungry," she complained. "When's breakfast ready?" Mum looked up at her. "You can help by setting the table." Millie went over to the fridge and looked at the list of chores. "It's not my job. It's Jacob's. Jake, hurry up. I'm hungry." Dad gave her a cautioning look and then said in a sing-song voice, "Hungary was hungry, ate a bit of turkey, slipped on grease and broke a bit of china." Millie rolled her eyes at Dad's pun. He loved rhymes. It was always, "Out of bed, Ted," or "Up you get, pet." Trouble was, all the kids copied him and said things over and over and over again until she got mad. Sure enough, Jake started singing. "Hungary was hungry, ate a bit of—" "Do your work, Jake," she snapped. "I'm starving." "Calm down, Millie," warned Mum, "and don't snap at people. It's a beautiful day. Don't spoil it." When school was over for the morning, Dad told the family that the bulls were going to be picked up by a truck that afternoon and taken to the freezing works. "Oh no, not the bulls," said Mum with a stricken face. "They're so beautiful." She'd already forgiven them for ruining her pot plants and trampling the paddocks. Dad nodded. "I know what you mean, but it has to be done." "Well, I don't want anything to do with it. Don't ask me to herd them down the drive to their deaths." Dad grinned at her. "Okay, I'll get Josiah to help me." Millie watched the bulls walk quietly past the barn and down the drive, with Angel trotting at their heels. She glanced over at Mum, who had her head down, reading. She understood how Mum was feeling. They were pretty impressive animals. "Play me something on the piano," said Mum without looking up. Millie sat down and started playing her latest piece. Kate had begun teaching her, and Jake a few months earlier, and she loved it. Just the other night she'd overheard Mum telling Dad, "Listen to her, Chris. It's incredible. She plays so sensitively." Dad had laughed and asked, "And just how did you expect her to play?" And Mum had answered, "I don't know. I guess I sort of expected her to play loudly and a bit roughly." Then Dad had laughed again and said, "Our little tomboy has her gentle side, all right. You watch. One day she'll turn into a beautiful swan." Millie smiled at the thought and kept playing. A few minutes later, Josiah burst through the door, holding Angel in his arms. Her back right leg hung at a funny angle and flopped around as Josiah knelt on the floor. Milly jumped up and ran over to them. Josiah carefully laid Angel on the carpet, and the leg flopped backwards until it looked like it was attached back to front. Milly felt like she was going to be sick. Angel reached around and tried to lick her leg. "What happened?" Mum asked in a shocked voice. Joe looked up with a grim expression on his face. "She got kicked by a bull. When we got the bulls down to Dad's new yards, one of Lee's cows was already in there. We put the bulls in, but they became really stroppy and started bellowing and pushing each other around. You should have seen them. The biggest bull got his head under the belly of one of the others and lifted him high in the air. Then he tossed him against the fence, and all Dad's new wooden planks just pinged off. And you know Angel, with all the noise and fighting, she just shot in there amongst them, snapping and barking. She looked like a mouse running around the feet of a herd of fighting elephants. We were yelling at her, but she didn't pay any attention." "Silly dog," groaned Mum softly, stroking Angel's head. Then one of the bulls kicked her hard, and she came yelping out of the yards with her leg dangling like this. Milly took another quick look at Angel's leg. It had flopped sideways and looked like it didn't even belong to the top part of her leg. "Is it broken, Mummy?" she asked in a small voice. Mum nodded. She had a strained look on her face. "It might just be dislocated, but I doubt it." Milly stared at the crooked leg. "What's going to happen to her?" Mum smiled reassuringly at Milly's worried face and said in her nurse's voice, "First, you can help me splint her leg so it's not flopping around like this. Then we'll have to take her to the vet." "But what will he do?" demanded Milly. Mum looked down into Angel's hazel eyes. "That depends on what's wrong." It was a quiet trip into the vet's. Angel lay in Milly's lap with her head on Ellie's knee, gazing up at their faces with quiet eyes. The vet didn't take long to make his decision. "We're going to have to x-ray her leg, so you'll need to leave her here for a few hours. We have to put her to sleep for a while to do it." All the children watched with sad faces as the vet carried Angel away. They saw her strain her head around his arm to gaze back at them before disappearing around the corner. "Come on, kids," said Mum. "Let's go. He'll ring us when she's ready to be picked up." Milly kept looking at her watch every few minutes for the next 2 hours. Finally, Mum's cell phone rang and they set back off to the vet's surgery. "Oh, she's a lovely little dog," he said as the children entered the room. Angel lay on the examination table looking miserable, but she smiled when she saw them. The vet pinned the x-ray up to the light. "A tiny piece of bone has sheared away, taking the tendon with it. I'm afraid it's a complicated case, not just a simple setting of a broken bone." Milly glanced over at Mum. She looked worried and stressed. "What does that mean?" she asked. "We can't do the operation here, I'm afraid. She'll need an orthopedic surgeon to put in a tiny pin and plate." Mum gave a deep sigh. "That sounds awfully expensive." The vet nodded. "It's not cheap. There are only 2 other options. One is to put her down. The other is to amputate. Sam tugged on Mum's jacket. What does that mean, Mummy? Millie whispered fiercely. It means cutting off her leg. She felt like crying. Dogs cope amazingly well with only 3 legs, continued the vet. They run around and can do most things they used to within a very short time. I'll understand fully if you feel you can't afford the expensive operation. She'll do just fine with 3 legs, if need be. That night, Angel lay on the sofa with her legs splintered and bandaged, while they all sat around her and had a family conference. Mum told Dad how much the operation was going to cost. Dad said it was an awful lot of money. Then Mum told him that to amputate was not much cheaper. Millie looked anxiously at Dad's face. He looked very serious. He said they were going to need all their money for building their house. Please, Dad, she said, looking down at Angel so the others didn't see her eyes fill with tears. She wanted to say a lot more, but couldn't. She's one of the family, pleaded Jake. She loves us, Sam added quietly. There's no way we're going to put her down, stated Josiah firmly. Ellie nodded vigorously. That's right. Where would we ever find another dog like her? Everyone murmured their agreement and nodded their heads. Remember how excited she gets every time Dad brings home an orphan lamb? Said Kate, licking their noses and standing there while they try and suckle from her. Dad laughed. Oh, what about her mothering all the little chickens? Most other terriers would kill them, but not Angel. Then he grew serious again. But it's still a lot of money. I know, shouted Jake suddenly. We can use the money we were going to spend at Rainbow's End. Great idea! Millie felt a great surge of hope. She didn't want to see Angel hopping around on 3 legs. She would much rather miss the log flume, the roller coaster and the bumper boats. Dad looked around at all their earnest faces. You'd rather get Angel's leg operated on than go to Rainbow's End? They'd been looking forward to the special treat for months. This time everyone shouted, Of course! Dad smiled and nodded. So be it. It'll certainly help towards the fee. He rubbed Angel's ears and she gazed up at him adoringly. We owe it to her, I think.